I think all too often people forget that a brand is not the warranty. A brand is not, 10 years, 20 years. The brand is not GF Certainty, although they're amazing. No, that's not the brand. The brand is not the logo. The brand is what you stand for when all the music fades and when do people remember you. Why are so many companies still struggling when there's so much resources and data and there's so much to them, right? And I think the reason that they're struggling is because of this iron fist of my way or the highway. And we've seen many companies in history lose because of my way of the highway, right? Like they haven't been able to adapt fast enough and they've lost entirely to their competitor. And I think this is what we're going to see in the next 5 years.
Welcome to the Roofing Success Podcast. I'm Jim Aline, and I'm here to bring you insights from top leaders in the roofing industry to help you grow and scale your roofing business. Greta Bajrami, how are you?
Good, Jim. Thanks for having me back. It's been a minute. I'm very well.
It has been a long time. You could see it in the gray in the beard, the gray in the hair. 6 years deep into the 7 years deep into the podcast, 300 plus episodes now. So, it was one of the things that I reached out to you about and wanted you back on is, man, there's been a journey from then until now. Right.
Okay.
I mean, it's been a really cool journey that you've been on and wanted to get an update and kind of just to talk to you about, like, I guess the challenges that you faced over this 5-6 year period, how you overcame them, what were some of the lessons you learned, and what were some of the outcomes. So let's first start with an update on Golden Group. Like, where is Golden Group now?
Wow.
What's been going on?
Great question. Well, for those that know my story, Golden Group started out as just a side hustle while we were supposed to get a real job, so quote unquote. And I'm so glad that I saw opportunity in 2011 in an industry where so many people are seeing opportunity today, including, venture capitalists and investment groups. So I look back at my 21-year-old self and I say, man, I was smart for a state school kid. I saw an opportunity. But I think where we began when we last spoke, it was just about just doing the day to day. It was just about growing incrementally 10, 15, 20%, whatever we could push. But since then, my God, like, has the industry changed in the last 6 years? Has the industry shown that it has potential for so much more structure, so much more benefits, so much more talent, which is what really excites me. And when I think about where we are today, like, our landscape is changing every 3 months because there's so much support that we're getting for so many other sectors. And we're borrowing information and knowledge from people that we've never thought they could come to the roofing industry. I often thought that, Austin Roofing, we kind of had to figure it out ourselves. I remember the good old days of us figuring out CRMs. I felt like that was like that was like our highlight of our career. But look at our career now, where we're getting people that want to be a part of our journey, our industry, in marketing, in CRMs, in AI, in remote talent, and in just investing in our industry. So I definitely didn't think we'd be here last time we spoke. I'd be lying to you if I told you that I thought we'd be right here where we are.
Yeah. What has been, it's like, what I'm hearing from you is the professionalism that has come into the industry. I'm also like the business acumen that has entered the industry.
Oh yeah.
How, speak to that a little bit. Speak to that a little bit more. Like, what are the things that you've seen and experienced around that?
I mean, I think just going back to 6 years ago, it was really hard to get people to want to be sales in roofing space. It was really hard to get people to think of us to become office administrators and just get entry-level positions. They didn't have faith in the industry. They didn't have faith in the companies that we were building, the structure that we had. They thought we were very wild, wild west. And today, I find myself where I'm getting LinkedIn, inquiries almost daily for people that want to jump from a corporate entity, a Fortune 500 company, and they want to work here because they've heard that this is the future. There's so much going on that they're very excited, that they want to bring on their talents. There's that interest of solar and roofing now being paired, where everybody that maybe was in just solar space is now thinking, no, I want to be in solar roofing space. I want to work directly for a roofing company that does solar rather than for a solar company that does solar. And it's just been really exciting to see I speak a lot at universities, and One thing that excites me is when I was in university before, I had to like make roofing sound fancy. We're in
Yeah.
construction, management, development, and now I'm like, no, we're just a roofing company. They're like, oh my god, yeah, I want to work for a roofing company. And I think that's the change that we are on, and I think it's up to us as roofers and anybody listening to continue supporting this talent and not letting it come and get discouraged. We really have to live up to it because they're giving us a chance, and we've never had this before, right? We've never had so many
Mm.
people want to join us and bring their talents within our organizations, and it's up to us now as roofers across all companies to keep up with that promise. What doesn't matter if it's Golden Group or it's your company, we together have to work to keep this talent so the word spreads and we keep getting more wonderful people that want to work for us and with us.
What do you think that shift was? Like, what is the shift? You're out speaking at universities, and they're instead of talking about, "Hey, I'm gonna go and work for this Fortune 500 company, I'm getting, my goal is to climb the corporate ladder with a
Yeah.
very large, stable company." What have they expressed as the reason that they're looking at industries like roofing as like, "Wow, this
Yeah.
might
Well,
be the opportunity?"
a great question. I think young people are very smart and all people really.
Yeah.
And I think people are seeing that there's an interest in our space that's coming in from all sectors, right? Like investors, private equity, people that are buying up roofing companies, buying up, Beacon supply company, right? Like people are watching this, they're seeing this shift happening, and they're saying that, hey, look, like maybe this is the next big thing, right? We had pharma, we had tech, biotech, like,
Mm.
and not to say that those things are not around, but maybe this is the next big thing. And I think people will really tune into that because they hear stories from their grandparents or their parents like, oh, hey, I was in the big tech boom. I was like, I used to work in pharma sales, I used to work in this. So I think they view it as like, this is the next big thing and I should be a part of it. Why not? I have a lot of young individuals that first question they ask is, are you giving shares? Are you offering anything? I'm willing to put in the time. Like, and that's really exciting because that means that they see this as the next big industry to be a part of that's really going to be transformational in the next 5 to 10 years.
I think that's a shift right there. The having shares and being part of like employee stock option pools and things like that. That's a different mindset. I think it's more of a mindset these days. I think they saw the dot-com boom, they saw
Yeah.
the tech boom, and they saw the people in those industries, with, if you were in NVIDIA's stock option pool, you're probably all right, like, that wouldn't be a bad thing to have been in, you know?
And
Um,
and I'll add this. I think it's because it's infrastructure, right? And I think people are more than
yes.
ever trying to get jobs that they know won't be replaced. Like, sure, there'll always be technology in our trades, and of course we're implementing technology a lot in roofing and even sales, but the homes are built so interesting, they're built
Yeah.
so different. I mean, a storm comes, like no matter how many drones we fly over, we still need that human touch. And I think younger people, and again, not just younger people but people in general, like they understand this and they want to invest in an industry that's bulletproof, recession proof, but also AI proof. And I think the trades
Yes.
are the trades are like, to a certain extent, we are AI proof. Like we can leverage AI a lot. We can leverage technology a lot, but there's still a lot of elements of what we do that has to be looking at the home, right? So we can speak and advocate for it and what it needs.
Yeah, definitely. What do we do with this talent? How do we nurture this talent?
We don't put it in a box. What I've realized is
Mm.
that the talent that's coming in now, if you're going to try to cap them, if you're going to try to hand them a handbook, this is our company policies, this is our structure, this is our sales script, you're a little outdated. I say this new talent that comes in, teach them the industry, explain to them the knowledge, give them the guidelines, right? This is the floor, this is the ceiling, this is how we do things, this is best practices, but then let them go on their own, let them use their creativity to really be individuals and get the sale or do the job with the way they think. I think this is the best way because this new workforce is coming in. They're very smart. They know how to leverage everything from AI on their phone to to sourcing their own question and answers, like they're not really going to come to you. They're going to figure it out themselves. And I think if you put them in a box, we're really going to limit their potential and what they can offer to the company.
Mm,
So my advice is that allow them to really bring all their knowledge, but also all their key innovation and skill set and imagination and the way they see business and the way they see your company, and give them the proper tools so they can make a difference in their time here. Because you have to be realistic. They're not going to stay with you forever. So why not get the best of them in the time that they are with you to implement change, right? So you can move the ship forward, and everybody leaves a little footprint. I think that's the best thing to do with this talent. Let
yeah.
everybody leave a footprint rather than making them walk on somebody else's footprints, which sometimes tends to be just the owners.
Yeah, but what do you mean, Greta, that they're not gonna stay with you forever? Do you think that people don't retire at the first company that they work for these
No,
days?
I
I
think this
mean,
I think our parents and our grandparents' way of thinking about companies, we have to be realistic now.
yeah,
This workforce is very much in an entrepreneurial mindset. Everybody wants to do what you're doing. Everybody wants to do a version of what you're doing. Maybe they want to create a technology for what you're doing. You have to be a realist there. And I'd say that just make the best of the time that they are with you. You are you, and they're never going to become you. It's okay. Today with data and analytics, like anybody can get the information on Golden Group just by doing some good research. It's not like me trying to cage it, me trying to like hinder their growth, me trying to cap them.
yeah,
It's just gonna make them leave faster. So I need to view it as like, if you're coming to work for me, Jim, I need to view it as like, I need Jim to give me as much of his soul, his skill set, his vision on the time that he's here. Yes, Jim's life vision might be his own thing, and that's okay. But I need to be a realist in the time that Jim is here. I need to let him really innovate and be a part of the picture and leave his footprint when he leaves here. So we
yeah.
have a little piece of him and the time that we had him be a part of the journey.
That's a different mindset, right? Like, you've been in construction long enough to know that it's construction companies are usually ruled by an iron fist or have traditionally
I
been
know.
ruled by an iron fist, right? Like my way or the highway, like
And I think,
that's a how
and I want
does
to, sorry to
an owner make that change?
I think you're
Yeah.
absolutely right. They are run by an iron fist, but I think that is the reason why we're seeing so many construction company on the flip side of that still struggle, right? Like, why are so many
Mm,
companies still struggling when there's so much resources and data and there's so much to them, right? And I think the reason that they're struggling is because of this iron fist of my way or the highway. And we've seen many companies in history lose because of my way of the highway, right? Like they haven't been able to adapt
uh-huh.
fast enough and they've lost entirely to their competitor. And I think this is what we're going to see in the next 5 years. I think the companies that are really think like my way or the highway, and maybe they won't be lost overnight, but definitely there will be a decline because now it's a journey of allowing others to join you, and it has to be done everybody's way. There's a lot of power now to both sides, not maybe the power relayed a lot with the employer, but now the power is equal. And I think as
Yeah.
leaders we have to be in tune with that and realize that it's not our way or the highway, it's everybody's. We're all going in the same
It's
route.
we have to learn to row in the same direction, right? Like
100%.
one of the fascinating things that you mentioned is they know technology and how to use technology. So the younger generation had grew up on like a Google search was the most normal thing that happened in their life. And now moving into ChatGPT and Gemini and Claude and all of the other AI, that made me think like this is fascinating. They have it. Like
Mhm.
if they want to learn how they can type into Gemini or Claude or ChatGPT, I'm starting a career as a roofing and exterior contracting salesperson,
Mhm.
you know, teach me how to become
Yeah.
the best sales rep out there. And my goodness, I it's probably going to be better than a lot of us, right? Like at doing that. And
And that's why I think we have to be intuitive as leaders and
mm,
and understand that it's our choice, right? Like we're either going to welcome this talent in and allow them to flourish within
yeah,
our organization, or we're going to let them take a few of our lunch money, and maybe they won't take all of it, right? But they'll definitely take a little bit of it. So it's like, what kind of leadership do you want? And I think a lot of great companies
yes,
like are already showing that they're doing that, right? Like a lot of companies are allowing people to work remote. A lot of companies are allowing people to work as freelancers for their companies. They're allowing this hibernation to occur because they realize that, like, what's the alternative? The alternative is that they go and start a $1 to $2 million company and they do it
That's
right
right.
next door to you. And now that's a $2 million loss because you lost a $2 million salesperson because you didn't want to allow them to really be their own individual, and you wanted to really focus on ego and no, this is the way it's always been done. This is my way. Like, sit down. That type of
Yeah.
leadership is not going to be something that's sustainable for the next workforce.
And I think it's an interesting thing. I of a story. I have years ago. I had a roofing contractor outside of the DFW, maybe an hour outside of the DFW, reach out and he said he had never marketed his business. Smaller town area, so a lot of people knew him, grew up in the market, and the reason he reached out was because the sales reps that used to work for him, the people that worked for him over his 30-year time span had gone out, and a certain number of them had gone out and started their own companies. And they were younger people, and in comparison, I guess, right? And all of a sudden they were doing SEO and Google reviews, and they were doing all of the things that the modern consumer was looking for.
Mhm.
And he was very frustrated because he dropped the ball. Instead of evolving into the next generation of business, he had the mentality of, "Hey, I've been doing it this way for this long," you know?
No, I
And,
and I think I mentioned that in my first
yeah,
podcast that I ever did, where I said that
yeah,
I knew that I couldn't have a 100-year advantage on my competitor that had been around forever. But I could do things that I knew that they weren't doing to make time, right? And then that's what I did.
that's
I mean,
right.
that's how I started my company. As I went around and I studied my top competitors, and then I also saw where they were doing nothing or they had gone very, very stale because they were comfortable. And I said, "Oh, perfect! That's my way into the market. I'm going to turn all these stones, and I'm going to enter in quietly because obviously I'm no fool." If you've been around 50 years
Yeah,
and it's my day one, I cannot be like, I'm going to be the 50-year-old company just by showing up because everybody's been waiting for Greta to come into the space. Of course not. But I could do all the things that you're not doing, which allows me now to make up a lot of time. And I think that's any smart entrepreneur is going to always work that angle. So you have to say to yourself is, A, how are you working that to make sure that you're not stale and you're always being, intuitive? Or two, allow talent that comes in that's doing that for you, and
uh,
work with them. So, they're doing a lot of the work for you. Share the journey. I think leadership is about that. It's like what I think in leadership, I didn't understand that very early on myself, but when I did really understand is when my company really started to grow. In the beginning, I think all leaders want to do it their way. It's very prideful. It's like I know best. This is my money. This is my investment. This is my time. But I think the moment that shift happens where you're like, you know what? No, like if these people can help me, it's okay if I make less or whatever. Like, but if these people can help me get
yeah,
here faster, well, now I'm smart. Now I'm gonna get to my goals and my vision that much quicker because somebody's joining me along for the journey. And I think in leadership, it doesn't happen overnight. And I think it would be a hallmark version if we all told you, because obviously we want to appear that way, but realistically,
of
it takes
course.
time for us to trust somebody um, to help us get to our vision or our goals faster.
Yeah, my friend Rosalind Burgess, she's been on the podcast multiple times. We just did a really cool, series on AI, so everyone go listening, if you haven't checked that out, go check that out. She talks about addition versus multiplication. Right? And that allowing your team to help, right? And help shape things and help build things and take their knowledge and their talents, that's multiplication, right?
100%.
And it's fantastic. All right. We talked It's been a couple of weeks since we talked, but I boil it down to like three things that you still see as being underdeveloped in the industry. The first is brand and
Mm,
branding. The second is logistics, and the third is sales and leadership. Let's start with brand.
yes.
What Why do so many contractors not focus on brand. I'm going to take it back to an even more simplistic definition first. What is brand to you?
Yeah. Thank you for asking. I think that a lot of people get it wrong. And I think that's the issue, right? When people think of brand and they think of, well, I have a logo, I have a website, I have a mission statement, I have a slogan. But to me, brand is about like, what's your legacy? Like when you're sitting down and you're in a coffee shop with your kids, what does somebody think of you when they walk in by you? Like, what do you represent as a person? Forget the company, but like if you're its leader,
Mm,
if you're its CEO, if tomorrow you have a president that's going to walk inside your shoes, what does it stand for? And if you answer roofing, it's incorrect. Um, the brand isn't roofing. Roofing is what the brand does. Roofing is what the brand
mm,
delivers. But the brand, what the brand is everything that it's committed to deliver roofing, right? So for me, my commitment to deliver roofing has always been tied to craftsmanship, where I want to be known as the number one place that really trains and harvests and really promotes craftsmanship in the trade. And two, I want to be remembered as the best customer service. I want to be remembered as the Ritz-Carlton of the Four Seasons of the roofing industry. And that is what my brand stands for. And now with those two principles in mind, there's a lot of things that come out of it, right? Like there's the there's the customer holistic approach, there is the professionalism, there's the customer service attitude, the timeliness, the management, whatever, but they're tied to those two things. And when we do all these things correctly, we produce great roofs, right? Because that's what we do. We do roofs. But I think all too often people forget that a brand is not the warranty. A brand is not, 10 years, 20 years. A brand is not GF certainty, although they're amazing, no, no, that's not the brand. The brand is not the logo. The brand is what you stand for when all the music fades and what do people remember you, and I think you can mirror this through many, many companies, like what does Apple really stand for? When you think of what they do, right? Like they have an iPhone, but everybody can make an iPhone, but what do they really stand for? And you have to challenge yourself to think that way. And it's going to be different for everybody. But if you find yourself asking yourself, like, what does my roofing company stand for? And you keep going to the warranties or we answer the phone fast or like, we've been around, we have 5-star reviews. Like again, you're not really answering the question. So that's
mm.
brand to me.
So how does someone answer that question? What questions do they need to answer to get to this is my brand?
They got to ask themselves what is the one thing that's really unique to them, and they got to look inward. And then what's one thing they do really, really well that is not tied to a product or another person or a thing, right? Like it has to be something that's really tied within them. Now it could be an emotion, right? Like I mentioned Ritz-Carlton or Four Seasons because it's the way they make you feel when you're in their establishment. And yes, sure, it's a luxury hotel, but the feeling that you get when you're in these establishments, I mean, it's remarkable. You feel like $1 million and you might just be getting coffee. You might not even be a guest in their establishment, but yet you feel like, wow, I feel good that I got this cappuccino here. Like this was a choice. I could have had this drink anywhere, but having it here, I feel really good. So I think you have to ask yourself, like, what do we want to go after? Like if I'm a commercial contractor, what do I want to go after? Like what is the feeling that I want people to feel when they're in my presence or they are in the presence of the people that I work with? And if you can answer that question, it might take a lot of time and research. That's your bingo moment because once you know what that is, now you can build a marketing strategy around it. Now you can build a structure around it. You can build a team and a process around it. But unless you define what the feeling is supposed to feel like, you won't really know. So, for example, for Golden Group customers, I want them to feel like us working on their home is our absolute it is like the highest honor. Like they've chosen us to work on their
Mhm.
home, the thing that they care more about. So this is where they make their memories. This is where they go 9 to 5 to have a job to keep a roof over their head. So I want them to feel that when they've selected us, as if we have been honored with the highest trust, their home, their most prized possession. And I want them to understand that to us, it's not about the price. To us, it's about just this fact alone. It could be a $200 ticket. It could be a $200,000 ticket. But thank you so much for trusting your home while your children and your wife and your dog and your pets are inside, or vice versa, while your husband. If they thank you for trusting that in our hardworking hands, and now allow us to do what we do best. So you feel this appreciation in every step. Whether it's the welcome call, whether it's reviewing the contract, well as onboarding, whether it's the project manager visiting the job site, whether it's the salesperson giving you a small gift. Allow us to make you feel this appreciation because it is really a gift in today's society to have your business because you have a choice. You can have that cappuccino anywhere. And we are so grateful that you decided to come to us. And that's what I want customers to feel when they're dealing with our sales team. And I borrowed this philosophy from, I think as a leader, you have to be an observer of life. And as you're sitting
Mm,
there, understand that we're all observers of life, whether we are migrating from a coffee shop to a dinner to a lunch to a soccer practice, watching our kids play. We have to get all these feelings that we're feeling and realize that people are seeking similar things when they're doing business with a roofing company. And it's up to us to define how we're going to create that feeling based on the values that we have.
definitely. What is
Did
the I
I
mean,
answer your
that's
question?
like, yes, very well. What is the easiest part of that process, and what is the hardest part of that process?
The easiest part is finding it out. Believe it or not, it doesn't take a lot of effort to find out how you can make customers feel. The hardest part is when the ball is rolling and you're making great earnings and your company's rising, to stay committed to it. Because as a leader, now you start saying, oh, well, we don't really care. We don't need their business. We're not going to give them a discount. Like, they have to pay in full. I don't care if they're upset. Too bad. Uh, and that's when you have to correct yourself, right? Like, the best organizations stay true to their promise, no matter what.
Mm,
And I think I mentioned this in an earlier podcast, but like Nordstrom is a company that I worked for when I was in college. And it didn't matter if people returned shoes 7 years later. Like, these shoes had been worn for 7 years every single day. And people would be like, I want my money back. It's full. And the manager would always be like, absolutely. And like, to us as salespeople during that time, we'd be like, are you crazy? They wore these shoes for 7 years every day. Like, why are we giving them their money back? And the
yeah.
manager said, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter like how hard the sales were today. It doesn't matter if we give them the refund today, it affects us negatively. It's like, we have to stay committed to the process, especially on good days and bad days equally, right? Like, and I think in roofing industries, in bad days, we actually are very nice to people because we're kind of like on scarcity. We're like, oh my God, I need this guy to like not do me a bad review. But I think roofers lose it in good days. Like, when there's a storm that came through, when they have like a $10 million contract that they got and a single lead, this is when they lose it, because now they say, you know what? I don't care. We don't need his business anyway. And that's when it matters most.
That is a great insight for everyone listening. In the last few years, let's be honest, they were good years.
Mm-hmm.
Last year was not as good for a lot of people. I don't know how it was up in the Northeast where you are, but I talked to contractors all over this country, and it was fascinating. In October of last year, we had the RSRA annual event, and it was the first time that we had about 150 contract companies in the same room from all over the country. And it was like, oh, you're not having a great year either. Oh, wait, you're not having a great year either. And there's this, when it's easy, th- you're right. Like, when it's easy, people let things slide, let things slip. It's like, oh no, I'm just getting more business. No big deal. There's another one there. I talk about this in the reference of sales reps, also in storm restoration markets where your sales reps are door knockers.
Mm-hmm.
I've always found, and not that it's true across the board, but I've always found that those sales reps are usually don't have the same effort in follow-up
Yeah.
than a retail sales rep that works, leads and referrals and their network. And I think it's because there's always another door with storm damage,
Mhm.
right? And so they get to just skate by and move on to the next one. And, oh, it's all right. Well, there's another one around the corner. There's another one around the corner. Don't worry about it. There's another job coming. There's another job coming. The the market will definitely show a lot of businesses what they need to focus on over the next year or so. Like this year, I think specifically 2026, let's mark it, Greta. Like, I think a lot of companies are going to have to face some harsh realities
100%.
around that.
I mean, yeah. I mean, we had a very good year. So now it's going to be kind of, especially as more private equity is in the space, as more structures being added to the space, you really have to be fit to be in the race. So I
Right.
think it's gonna come. It's gonna
That's
come
right.
out to you have to put in the workout to survive this year. That's for sure.
Before we carry on with the episode, let's give a shout out to one of our sponsors. Roofers, let's get real. You're great at building roofs, but are you great at building a steady stream of leads? That's where Job Nimbus Marketing comes in. They know the roofing industry inside and out, and they'll help you dominate Google, Facebook, reputation management, and everything in between. If you want more quality leads, more booked jobs, and more growth, visit the link in the description or the sponsors page on the Roofing Success Podcast website. There's no reason you're seeing our sponsor Coast pop up all over the roofing industry right now. Roofing businesses that use Coast can save an average of 1.5 days on their monthly book closing process. So if you use QuickBooks, Sage, or NetSuite, your Coast transactions can sync directly to those platforms. But the real game changer is the fraud protection. With Coast's telematic integrations, GPS is used to make sure that the truck is actually at the pump before the transaction goes through. If the truck isn't there, the transaction doesn't go through. Click the link in the description and see how Coast can level up your business. The Coast Visa commercial credit card is issued by Celtic Bank, subject to credit approval. Results may vary. I talk to contractors every day that feel stuck. Not because they're not working hard, but because they're missing the structure to growth without chaos. Or their culture's falling apart because their team's unclear, unaligned, or just burned out. And when change hits, they're reacting instead of leading because time and priorities aren't under their control. Day 41 Thrive helps to fix that with proven strategies for growth, culture, and leadership that actually work. Ready to thrive beyond the storm? Visit the link in the description or visit the Roofing Success Podcast website on the sponsors page to start your journey today. Let's talk about logistics. You know, the next thing that you feel there's still, and I look at these as all opportunities, right? Like when we're talking about brand, there is such an opportunity to create a brand in your market without, like, there is still a great opportunity, right? They're fantastic opportunities. So what you're seeing in this as like gaps in the industry, they're really just opportunities for people that if they solve these problems, my goodness, you're going to have a great business, right? So on the logistics side, right? What are the gaps that you're seeing there?
I mean, in the logistics sides, I think that in construction, one thing that we see often is that there's no busy bee work. I call it bee work because bees, like the that make honey, only because I feel that we still pull our labor force in 100 directions. And when people are pulled, they're never able to perfect anything. And there's no actual point on how to get to A to Z in the fastest way and leanest way possible. So it becomes a lot of noise, right? And I think in construction, we add to this level of stress to our workforce, especially in logistics, where we're pulling foremans, we're pulling crews in multiple directions. One day they're doing commercial, one day they're doing TPO, one day they're doing residential, one day they're doing storm chasing, siding, solar, deck, you name it. And I think one of the reasons that Global Group has been successful, and that's something I've always spoken about very, very loudly, is that we have to allow people to really own their craft. And the only way to do that is if they're perfecting something over and over day, and we can allow them to be the best version of that. And instead of like a day that goes quiet, instead of letting them hit the books, we're like, oh, perfect. You don't have something to do today? Like, go start this deck for me. you know, it's like, that's great. But now you've taken their focus out of what they were doing. And now they're worrying about decks, but when they were like in siding. So I think that is right there one of the biggest things that I advocate for. The other biggest thing that I advocate for is that we have to leverage technology here in this sector, and especially even AI, as much as we can, and CRMs. Let's be honest, like most people don't use their CRM to their full potential. And I think in logistics, having real data and having real numbers and allowing human beings to see it, to absorb it, to read it, allowing customers to understand it. It increases communication. And with increase of the communications, you're always going to have efficiency. You're going to make more money. And everybody's going to be happy at the end of the day. Everybody's going to go home happy. I think that one thing that I challenge all roofers is like, I know everybody has a CRM now because that was the biggest push 6 years ago when we last spoke. But how many people are really using it to the full capacity? How many people are
Not
understanding the
many.
reports that they're pulling? And are they really absorbing this data? And are they making informative decisions based on the data, or are they just making it because how they feel that day? Because how you feel today might be very different how you feel next week. Today, you might be stressed. So if you make a decision today that overwhelms your foreman, overwhelms your roofers, overwhelms your office team, as a leader, like you did a disservice to yourself because you reacted without actually reading and absorbing everything. And I see this roofers do it all the time. They'll bid on a job, they'll cancel a job, they'll bid on another job with no data, no supporting evidence. It's like, well, how did you make this decision? Like, and I think it creates a logistical nightmare when you're pulling people in 100 directions because you just want to make money, and that's great. Of course, you want to make money and you want to be profitable, but you got to have a roadmap of how you're going to get there when you have 30
Yes.
people following you. Otherwise, it just becomes a bunch of detours, frustrations, poor company to work for, poor customer service. And ultimately, when there's poor communication, it often is reflected in the P&L. Let's be realistic. It's not like a company's going to make tremendous money and profits and have a killer year if the logistics are not there. The logistics are everything. It's about taking what was said, and now it's like, okay, we sell croissants. I make jokes all the time, but if we don't have the formula, we don't know how to bake it. Well, that's good. We just gave people, great. We did a good job selling an illusion, but like we can't actually give you a product to taste because we don't know how to make a croissant. We don't have a formula.
It's crazy, right? Like, but and I think now with the advent of AI, the way that you can develop, the speed at which you can develop your SOP library and
Mhm.
kind of even have a conversation with Claude
Uh-huh.
and just brain dump into it and have it organize those thoughts for you
Mhm.
if you're moving from that kind of startup phase where you don't really have a lot of these processes in place into the, like, I mean, there and how long did it take until you felt comfortable in your process?
I would say that the word comfort, maybe we're never really comfortable in the
Never,
process,
yeah.
but I would say that in the last 3 years, it's definitely been perfected, but it's been obsessive, right? Like, I think a really
Mm,
good leader is obsessed with this process more than anything. And the heart of a service provider is going to be the hands, right? So the heart of a roofing company at the end of the day is the logistics, right? Is the onboarding, is doing the actual work. I mean, that's how we get paid. That's how we recognize revenue is when the roof's actually done. Everything else before that is theoretical, and it's promising, and two parties are saying yes, yes, like this is what we're going to do. But I think the actual we're service providers, so the logistics is the heart. And I
yeah.
think that unless you're absolutely obsessed with it and that's where you live, and you live in operations and you breathe there, it doesn't matter what your title is within the company. If your name is somehow attached as an owner, founder, investor, if you're not obsessed with that operations and you're not observing it every single day, I don't think you'll ever be comfortable with it because you won't know it. You got to know it better than everybody else. And I think too, oftentimes I see roofers that say they know it, but they know the marketing or the sales and they're subbing this out. Even if you sub the work
Yes.
out, you should be obsessed with every single process of even how that dumpster goes there, how that permit is pulled, how that warranty is filed. And if you're not turning and watching and obsessing over this and how to perfect it, you're kind of like, again, you're bringing it back to the croissant maker. You're sort of the croissant maker that like, maybe you had a recipe that was good when you started, but you never went to taste your product and you never saw it. And maybe they're stale and they're not really good. And that's why people don't come back to you. And I think in the work that we do, we have to be obsessed with what we create with our hands. And I don't care if you're subbing it out. You should be out there every day, every week, seeing what you do and seeing if it makes sense and if you're proud of what you're seeing done and if it's getting and if you're seeing bottlenecks and then you're saying, okay, for us, the bottleneck was always material. We don't have warehouses. We don't keep material. We realized that it took too much effort to take the material from the truck, put it in a warehouse, pay for the warehouse. Material now is like a mess. Like if people can't find it, they have to no. So we decided that we would watch our orders and we would have a very small, waste factor to allow us to be leaner So we didn't have to waste so much time driving back and forth and housing material that we never used. But that was an observation that had to be made there, right? Of how much
Yes,
money were we really saving by having warehouses.
definitely. The other thing that I hear in that is it's the effect on the customer experience.
Mhm.
I think you mentioned this, that people focus on the marketing and sales side and they feel like that's the customer experience. But but that's not the customer experience is building the roof, right? The customer experience is at their home. How like, what processes have you put in place over the years that have made the most impact, that you feel made the most impact with that
Yeah,
customer experience?
at Golden Group, I've always thought of how to minimize anxiety. So I think I like to pretend I'm a therapist of our customers. And I think of a roofing customer, somebody who has a lot of anxiety. A lot of people, especially in my position, are buying this full out, right? This is a retail purchase of 30, 40, $50,000. This is a lot of money that's coming out of somebody's savings account or portfolio, right? Like they're moving this money around to be able to afford this project. So there's a lot of anxiety there already. Even if you're the best of the best, there's a lot of anxiety. So I say to myself, well, how can we minimize the anxiety the customer feels? What can we do better? And we realized that, like, if we ask for deposit on the day of the job or just 2 days before the job, it lowers anxiety a lot. People don't like to
Mm,
part with this much money and then have you be on a 3 to 4 month backlog. As much as we would have loved that liquid capital, it's better that it sits with the customer because their anxiety is much less, right? And then we realized something as simple as a welcome onboarding call. We realized that people really enjoyed like taking 5 minutes and scheduling like this welcome call. Now it meant that we had to do it with a human, right? Rather than having AI or like having an automated email that went out. But we realized that when we did a welcome call with a human and we laughed a little bit, we talked about it. We were like, "Oh, is there anything in this job set that's like a wish item for you? Oh, like I really don't want you to be here on Saturday. Oh, like the dog's really important to me. My pool. Can you watch my rose bush?" Even though the sales guy may have had those conversations, to them it felt really, really good to have this welcome onboarding call. And then we found out that if we just gave the customer everything we had, their anxiety lessened completely. What do we have? We have pictures, we have proposals, we have permits, we have, orders, delivery information. We have all this information that sits in our CRM. Why are we sharing this with the customer? This
mm,
makes them feel really good. It makes them feel that, hey, they're listening, they're paying attention to me, like they understand what I want and what I need, and it's keeping the communication portal both ways. So now they know if there's a permit that's not issued yet because we're letting them know in live time that everything we're seeing, they're seeing too. And then lastly, on the day of the install, it doesn't matter w- what's happening on the day of the install, but day of the install is super important for the sales guy to really circle back with a homeowner and be that face. Right? They were the first bridge, but for us, it was so important for the sales guy to return and, hey, how's everything going? Like, do you like how's do you how are you enjoying this? It was like that final circle that for us was important to be made. And before we ask for a review, before we ask for a final payment, we want that sales member to go back out there and just see like how the customer feels. Like, did we
mhm.
deliver and everything that was promised at the kitchen table? And it was like, again, it's not rocket science. Like, I bet you every roofer knows this, but the problem is how many of us are doing this consistently
Yeah,
every single day? Because when people tell me, "Oh, you have 5-star reviews," and I'm like, "No, no, no. I have 3-star reviews too. They just don't make it to the internet because I am there in person correcting it in live time because I want to make sure that I make the dish 100 times so it's read to their satisfaction, right? Like that's that hospitality mindset. The customer's always right. Nobody's leaving. Even they sometimes might not have to pay. If I have to cut a money back, if I have to redo it again, it doesn't matter because the customer is always right. So yes, I have 3-star reviews too, but you're never going to see them because I'm never going to let somebody not be happy with the work that we do because I'm there on the ground making sure that, hey, are you happy? And if you're not,
yeah,
can you give me the opportunity to make it right? Like, do I have that chance? And no homeowner is ever going to tell you, no, you don't have a chance if you're a good person.
that's
They're going
right.
to say, you know what, Greta? I'll give you a chance. This is what I need you to do. And you know what? You're going to take it in the chin. It's not about ego. It's not about you versus them. It's about you versus the community. And again, it goes back to that legacy mindset. Like, it's not about the customer sometimes is wrong. Sorry to the homeowners listening. But we're not going to tell them that because you know what? it's not about me versus the homeowner. It's about me versus the community, the legacy. And I tell everybody here, and I think I mentioned it even on like the 6 year ago podcast, I cannot have a homeowner see me at my son's game and not want to handshake me. And that, to me, that's one of the value that I've installed in all my sales team members. And I tell my sales team members, if we have to lose money, it's a much better feeling as long as they can respect us and we can respect them when we see each other. Because it's a small community. Like, let's face it, like we don't live in, well, some roofers might, but most of us live in smaller communities. Chances of you seeing your customer again or their friends, it's high. So do you really want to have him slander you, or do you want to avoid him in the parking lot, or do you want to look him and her in the eye and handshake? Because it's all about communication. A resolution can be reached diplomatically with any person if you just try. And to me, when I have customers that are very angry, this is the one thing I ask them, Jim. I say, I want you to go back to the home that you decided to work with us, and I want you to please allow me the opportunity to make it right. I promise you that whatever plan you put in forward in front of me, I'm going to respect it, and I'm going to do everything I can possible within my limitations here to make it happen. If you just allow me to go back to that moment when you told me that I want to award you my business, and I've never had a homeowner that tells me no, get out. Never. They say, you know what? Thank you for saying that. Let me talk to my spouse. I'll get back to you tomorrow.
Always, because they just want the problem solved also, right? And what was what has been one or a couple of those things that you've done along over the years that that you feel like most contractors wouldn't do to make it right?
Give them their money back. I
How,
mean,
like, how much did you actually
I've
refund?
given
Like,
money back.
how much money did, like, the whole project?
Yeah, no,
Like, what?
I've had situations where I've given the whole project money back because I felt like they were not happy no matter what we kept trying. So I've gone back and forth and being like, okay, but if we try to resolve, it's going to cost this much. So sometimes I'm like, you know what? Like, I honestly feel that here's your money back and, keep it. I've done that. I've done 50-50. I've done it all. But you know what? You're probably going to say I'm crazy and any accountant listening, but I challenge every accountant or every person working as an advisor to just think about the cost that it will have to marketing and sales department and
That's
branding,
right.
right? Like if you take a hit here for 10, 15, 20 grand, it's like a Google campaign is 30, 40, 50 grand, like, and a Google campaign with a 1-star review, it can be one. If somebody goes on Reddit, goes on all these things, like, trust me, they can be really, really loud. And it's going to take your marketing department hundreds of thousands of dollars to silence them. And it's
Yeah,
just a lot of work. And it's like, sometimes it's like, oh, let's just give them their money back. And I've done it,
that's
but I have
right.
a budget aside for that. I call it like the incidental budget. It's very important that we budget for these things. And it's like I said, we don't use them. It's very rare. But in the unlikely event that we need to dip into this budget to make some customer happy, we need to have it there. We need to have a budget allocated for if something goes wrong. And I think any person listening to this, like, look at hospitality. They comp stuff all the time. They have a budget
All
built
the
into
time.
it. Hotel groups, resorts. I don't care what you're thinking of. Like, every business has this, and we need to start thinking the same way if we want to treat our entities like Fortune 500
So,
companies, right? Because they have the potential
yeah.
to become that with private equity, with all these things, right? With all these benefits that we're adding, all these layers, they have the potential to become mega brands and companies. But you got to understand that you have to budget for customer experience, and you have to do the right thing.
And when those hospitality brands budget for these things to happen, they have built that into their pricing,
100%. Yeah, same
right?
with us. Of course, we build that into our
So
pricing.
I talk about this a little bit fairly often, I think, and it's like, I think that we price arbitrarily too often.
Mm.
Like, it's like, well, down the street, they're at X per square, so I need to be at X per square, right? Like, and so they're
Pricing,
not.
I was gonna add to say pricing should be a formula that's reflective of what it really takes for you to be in business,
Mhm.
not what somebody else is charging down the street, not what the competitive price is to be on the marketplace, not what you think you should charge. I think, like, if you look at the Golden Group story, or there's somebody listening to this that is a competitor of ours, like, our pricing has never been reflective of what's happening, the noise that's happening. Our pricing has been reflective of what it takes to us to do this every single day, like what it takes for us to be in business every day.
Yeah.
And the price has to be a mathematical equation. It cannot be, you cannot allow sales team members to make a price on what they think it should be. It should really be a math equation.
Yes. A salesperson making up the price is the price that gets the sale, right? And that is not a profitable price a lot of times. Let's talk about sales and leadership. Um, Man, we lose the industry loses a lot of talented salespeople. Um, Expectations are inconsistent, commissions are inconsistent. Like, what are you seeing as the gap in the sales side
Mhm.
of the industry?
Well, mine is going to sound like this is my opinion. Everything we've said up to this point, this is my opinion. So please do not
That's
come
right.
for me. I think we expect salespeople to become marketing departments. This is my
Mm,
first flaw that I see. And although I sometimes catch myself wanting the same thing of them, we have to be very realistic that an Apple employee doesn't do the job of Apple marketing team. Like they're there to sell the product, give the customer experience. And I think all too often we expect salespeople to do this. And there's great salespeople that will do it, which is great. But is it sustainable long term, right? Can we ask people to always canvas, always knock doors, always do cold calls? Can we really expect this of them? Is it tiresome? Does it add a lot of stress and burden? Now, if it's shared 50-50, if you're already doing a lot of it, but you're asking them to hey, here's a perfect formula, that's great too. But asking salespeople to just do it themselves and being like, when you sell it, I'll do the roof. Like you're really just a middleman in your own company. Like you're literally asking all these people to do the work. Like, and you're just a middleman. You're facilitating maybe a sub with a sales guy, and you're like putting on this facade. And people catch on to that very quickly. People catch on that you're just a facade and you're a facilitator, and they don't want to be a part of that. And I think that's the number one way that you destroy sales team members, because they come and they're like, "Well, you're not doing anything. You're expecting me to like go and door knock, call, go get the customer, do all this, and then you're just a middleman. Like, you don't even have anybody to do this work. You're like subbing all this out. Like, so what value do you have as my employer other than a paycheck? I can do this somewhere else, or I can do this myself. That's number one.
yeah, that's a big one though. Like, for sure.
And I think
Number
that's
2.
why retail roofing companies do better with sales team members, is because they
Yes.
do invest more in the branding and sales, and they do invest more in just making sure that salespeople have a customer that they can work. Now, yes, once they get their customer, should they work the neighborhood? Absolutely. Should they go to networking events in the community? Absolutely. But you cannot ask them to start the whole sales cycle entirely on their own for your company.
Yeah, definitely. And 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 then that I think that's where that's where it comes from, the sales rep leaving to start their own, right?
Mm,
Like, that's what we mentioned earlier. It's like, not that you're developing your competition, you're actually showing them, "Oh, I really just put these 2 things together. I connect you with with the crew." Like, there's not much here, and that makes them feel like, "Oh, there's not much there. I'm gonna go and start my own
hmm
company."
Which
Now,
is what happens
they'll
every
run
day.
in they they will run into the challenges of owning a company, and there are more than just the connection of the
Of
crew and the
course.
salesperson. But I think the impactful thing there that you said, that's what they see, right? Like, that's what they see. It's like, "Oh, wait, you're getting this, and I'm getting this, and I'm doing this, and you're doing huh, this might not yeah, that"
Yeah, exactly. And I think when you pair that with the consistent commissions, it blows up in your
Yeah,
face as a leader, right? So how I do that is that I invest always in marketing. Like marketing is my job. And I also always encourage salespeople of how to make their own leads by giving them an additional compensation for their own leads. And I teach them like, hey, once you're in the neighborhood, here's the resources that we've made available for an additional commission for you to either send flyers, door knock, etc. Right? Also, like to do networking events. Here's the compensation. Here's how you make extra. Right? So now there's an incentive. Now they understand like, well, she's doing this, so I can do this because it's just more money for me. This is great. Like, thank you. And when you pair that with a consistent commission plan that's not tied to net profit, but it's just tied to just straight up the job sale, it's a no-brainer for the salesperson, because once a salesperson gets involved in the actual day-to-day logistics of the job, it becomes a war between production and sales. and one party is going up against the other. It creates a lot of animosity because salespeople oftentimes feel that production managers are like against them. Oh, why do they need more ice and water? Why do they need more squares? No, I measured that correctly. Wrong, right? You're adding too much stress. They can't think about the next sale because they're worried about this commission that they had planned to take their wife out to dinner being already lost because you told them now that they're getting no commission because the job went under. I think as a good leader here, you have to make some tough calls. You have to allow people to make compensations and give them guidelines. Now, of course, we also can have jobs that can go in for review, but remember how I mentioned onboarding. We onboard jobs equally for ourselves as we do for our customers. If we think a job is going to go under, we're going to allow the salesperson the opportunity to know at that period in time. We're going to allow him to make it right or see if we want to cancel a job, or if he wants to take a reduced commission. We're not going to have it be something that blows up in his face after the job has been settled because it's not fair to him. And it's not fair to the work that he's put in for that customer. So I think the future should be that salespeople should be compensated, from the top, give them really good guidelines, give them really good ways that they can check themselves as the process begins, allow them to not have anxiety build up, and allow them not to create a pull and a war, with production once a job begins, because it shouldn't be about that. Once a job begins, it shouldn't be about P&Ls. It should be about doing the right thing so the customer is happy.
How do you make it, how do you set up your processes so that by the time the job starts, it's not about the P&L? Like, what are the things that you
So
make sure are in place?
for us, the moment that we have all of our contracts are reviewed before they go out to the customer. It's one thing that salespeople, when they come here, are shocked. They're like, "What do you mean?" Because we have to uphold ourselves, right? Like, so if we're signing off on a project, we believe that our production team should have eyes on it before our signature goes on the dotted line. So our sales team members can go out there and sit on the kitchen table, but ultimately production reserves the right to not send that contract out with our final signature. So we call that pending review for the customers. Customers actually love it because we tell them, like, thank you so much for moving forward. This is going to actually go into production review right now. Production is going to make sure that everything we've spoken about is something they can deliver, and they can, make sure that it's a success. And they'll actually be sending this to you with their signature. Customers love it. They're like, damn, like a production manager is going to view everything that this sales guy that looks super young. Thank God,
Yeah.
thank God there's like a guy that's worked 30 years is going to review everything we talked about. But this allows production the opportunity to catch an error where they tell a salesperson, like, hey, you missed this entirely. Hey, you undersold this. Hey, the offset on this solar job is only 30%. Like, I think you made an error. And now this gives them an opportunity to make it right. Or they might have a conversation saying, you know what, I know I was really low in the margins there. Like, would you guys consider cutting my commission in half? I'd really want to push forward. This is a really good neighborhood for me. I understand that it's really low. Okay, perfect. We put those notes in the system. Now the job proceeds. That's really the way that we do it. And then the moment the job proceeds, and that's in that actual moment when production review is happening, we actually do a cost forecast. Just so we have a forecast of what we think the job's going to bring to the company. And we're very transparent with those numbers. Everybody can see those numbers from our company, and it just makes people feel good because we tell people all the time, it's not about selling jobs. It's about selling jobs that are profitable, so we can be here for a really long time. Because if it was just about selling jobs, that's easy. I can go outside right now and sell a bunch of jobs. It's not about that. It's about selling jobs that allows people to have benefits, allows people to have careers, bonuses, dinners. It allows people to just feel good when they come in here. I'm not trying to run a company to the ground where I can't afford water or I can't afford coffee and I can't afford yogurt for my team who has requested. That was the request this week. They wanted yogurts and fruit because they're all on a health journey. That's great. I want to be
Okay.
the employer that doesn't have to stress because we don't have the budget to put $500 in our fridge every week for our team. That's not the kind of company I want to build, right? So the message to the sales team and to everybody is like, let's get jobs where we're profitable because we're in business to make a career. And when people and homeowners need to understand that they're supporting a career. And if they don't want to support a company that's building careers, then they're not our ideal customer, because purchase is a choice. And I hope you do the sustainable, people are, and this is something that I will speak now directly to homeowners listening, if there is any. We have to do better. We do make sustainable choices with our food. We make sustainable choices with our clothes nowadays. We make sustainable choices with almost a lot of stuff nowadays. I see consumers, especially here in the Boston market. I'm very proud. We don't make good choices when it comes to our home and trades contractors. And it's allowed us to be in the position that we're in, and we really need homeowners to start valuing what we're doing because it's for the greater good. And it's not about Greta
Yeah.
and Freddie as owners. It's not about Golden Group. It's about the 42 people that work here and their livelihoods and the fact that they can support their families and they can have teeth, dental insurance, and they can have healthcare, because that was not a thing. When I started Golden Group, I had no benefits for anybody. Not because I didn't want to, but because the price per square would
Yeah.
never allow me to.
For sure. It's it makes me think like there's these TikTok videos and Instagram reels now that I've seen a lot, and it's like it's a spoof on this kind of from the homeowner perspective of like someone goes to a restaurant and breaks down the menu as if like, well, look, if I buy these eggs myself, can I bring the eggs myself and then you could cook the eggs? And like, you know what I mean? Like kind of the way that a homeowner treats contractors most of
Mhm.
the time. Like it's a strange relationship where a lot of times homeowners or the wrong customer doesn't want you to make any money.
Yeah. We see
And,
it every day.
it's crazy. And so being able to express that and express that, hey, no, look, we're a company that's going to be around for a long time, and we're going to take care of our team, and we're going to, like we're creating careers for people, and I hope that you value that in your community, right? Like, and if some do and some don't, but your customers are the ones that do, and you've had a lot of those customers because you guys are wildly
No, I
successful,
mean,
right? Like they're out there. Everyone listening,
100%.
those customers are out there.
Those customers are out there, but even the ones that are not, I challenge them. Like, if you're spending $10 this morning on a cup of coffee and you're okay with it, you are, because you're buying it every day. And I mean, I think that's what
Yeah,
the coffees come up to now. Like, I swear, you can never leave a coffee shop without $7.
I know.
And it took a second for that coffee to be made by a machine. But you don't want to pay, your roofer sometimes like $1,000 for like a service that they're getting up on a ladder, they're driving to you, they're like hanging from, so like shame on you for thinking that way, right? Because it's a craftsmanship and it's a trade, and it's people working with their hands against elements, snow, winter, rain. Like, look at all the people that were doing ice dam removals. They were out there freezing, and they're doing it for you. When they have a choice, they can be the barista in the coffee shop, but they're choosing
That's
to
right.
do this. Like, let's not kill this dying art. Like, AI cannot come and remove your smell. So don't destroy craftsmanship. Respect it and go back to valuing it as much as you should value everything else. Like, I actually love that people are valuing farmers more than ever today, but I want everybody to rise up and respect tradesmen just as much as you respect the farmer that made the tomato, because it's no easy task asking us to go against, 100-degree days, go against hailstorms, go against all these elements. And you're telling us to do it, and you're telling us to net $100, but yet you're willing to buy a cup of coffee that took a penny to be made. Like, come on. You have to understand to respect things. And we need to go back to respecting craftsmen, artisanals, farmers, the basics, right? In a world of digitalization, it's time to respect the people that are going to be around working with their hands more than ever. And don't nickel and dime there. Nickel and dime yourself somewhere else. Don't nickel and dime somebody here, because that's sad. Sometimes when I have mornings I want to nickel and dime the roofers, I almost pause and I look at them and I say, no, I can't. I have to stand up for the people, because you're asking us to hang off a roof for 10 hours in 100-degree weather, and you're asking us to do it for no profit. Like, no,
Yeah.
we do enough Habitat for Humanity roofs. This is not going to be one of them. And show some respect. Because would you do that at your job? I tell homeowners, would you go to your job
Yeah.
and do all these things for free?
No.
No. And most of them work from their
No.
laptops, and they wouldn't even do that for free. But you're asking somebody to put 5 tons of debris in a dumpster for
Yeah.
reduced cost? I don't know. Is that ethical? No. So I think we need to start respecting trades, and we need to start being ethical in how we're treating people in the trades, so we can have more of them. Because if we allow roofers to do what's right for the customer, they will, at the expense of underpaid and undervalued people, which will continue creating scarcity in the marketplace, which we've seen. We don't have to talk about it in this podcast. Let somebody else talk about it.
Yeah.
We've seen roofers decline more than ever in the last 24 months. Not that
Yep.
many people are want to be roofers anymore. People are becoming. Well, I'm losing most of the roofers up here in the Northeast to Amazon drivers.
Wow. Yeah. it's a changing landscape, and there's going to be a lot of challenges into the future. Let's talk about your journey from, I mean, this is like, from being a side hustle through private equity now, like
Yeah.
through your journey into private equity now. Reflecting on that journey, what advice would you give a contractor to build a sustainable long-term company that benefits themselves and their team?
I would say treat this like anything else. Don't treat this as a side hustle. Don't treat this as a one-off. Don't treat this as transactional, right? Like money in, money out. Have a vision, have a bigger plan other than yourself, and see this as having a full potential to be a company that maybe you can give to your kids, or maybe you can give to a private equity group. Just have a really bold vision and a clear understanding. And for me, that was never the case. I always thought Golden Group was just going to be money in, money out, like a company that existed to pay my bills. I honestly never thought that I could probably be anywhere else other than here. But when I realized that in entrepreneurship, we are no different. And I think we excuse ourselves because we work in trades. We think that a lot of the privilege that other entrepreneurs have around the world doesn't belong to us. And I think when private equity got into the space, it made me realize that we have businesses like the rest of the industries have businesses. We're no different than everybody else. So why do we behave differently? Why do we not invest? Why do we not think of growth? Why do we not think of branding and marketing, all these things, implementation, structure, and exit strategy? Why do we not think of it? Well, we didn't think of it because it wasn't possible until yesterday. But today it is possible. So imagine if we can build a company and then go build another one, even better, maybe maybe with a different view. Imagine if we can become authors, consultants, and that's a lot of people that have come to me saying, "Hey, Greta, should I sell?" And I said, "If you have the opportunity to do more than one thing in this lifetime, would you take it? And or like, would you be a one-hit wonder?" And they said, "No, I want to be like a multi-platinum, artist. I don't want to be a one-hit wonder." And I said, "Well, this is your shot. This is your shot to show the world that you can do more in this lifetime than just one thing, one company." And I think that is what the journey that I would tell everybody is like, once you start thinking of yourself as, hey, I don't want to be a one hit wonder. Yeah, comfort is great, but I want to do many things in this lifetime. I want my kids to see me do many things. Then this is your shot to do that. And let's build companies that allows us to do that, because until yesterday, it was never possible. But now uh, it is possible. People want to buy roofing companies. People want to invest in roofing companies. And this is your shot. So why not take it and prove to the world that you can do more and create more, and you can create more roofing companies. There's a lot of private equity that like they only have non-competes or only for 3-4 years. You can do another roofing
Uh-huh.
company, even bigger, even better. Imagine what that would mean for you as a person. Forget the money for a minute. What does that mean for you as a person? The money's going to come, trust me, when you're doing things that are purposeful, and you're going to make a lot of money. But the point is, how does that make you feel? Because until yesterday, for me, that wasn't even a possibility. I thought I was gonna literally retire here at Golden Group. I was gonna come in with my cane and I'm gonna be like, all right, guys, like my hip has given out, like I can't do this anymore. And the reason I decided to partner with my partners as Stoneberg Roofing Partners was because I realized that here was a Willy Wonka moment where I could have the eyes in the experience, where I can keep one eye, the Golden Group eye, but now I could borrow an eye from some of the most incredible people in the world, working at some of the most incredible places. What a blessing to be able to do it while still owning and leading my company. It's like I just got a PhD at like Harvard, Cornell, and all these places where these people graduated from. And I didn't even have to pay for it. All I had to do was allow them to share the journey with me, which is still incredible. Like I think people
Yeah.
don't understand that if you partner with the right partners, nothing changes. Like nothing changes here. Like the office still looks the same. Everything's still the same. The only thing that changes is that now I'm given a look into a world where I would have never been able to even have a sight into. Like, forget it would have been cloudy all the time. There would have been like, there's nothing there. Just keep working here, Greta. Now I do. Now I have a vision.
It's fantastic. Thanks for your time today. This has been another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. Thank you for tuning into the Roofing Success Podcast. For more valuable content, visit roofingsuccesspodcast.com. While there, check out our sponsors for exclusive offers, shop for merchandise, and sign up for our newsletter for industry updates and tips. Also, join the Roofing Success Facebook group to connect with other professionals and stay updated on the latest trends. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, like, share, and leave a comment. Your support helps us continue to bring you top industry insights. The website link is in the description. Thanks for listening.